This field looks freshly harvested, probably within the last couple months, but if I walk down further, there's another barren field with what appears to be maybe some light new growth on it, but still nothing in comparison to my backyard. I guess the whole reason that I'm impressed by permaculture, the design that I'm trying to do in my backyard, is very little water use, yet continued growth. It's because I want to have a constant, persistent place for a carbon sequestration dump in my backyard. So it's constantly harnessing carbon, nitrogen from the atmosphere and putting it back into my soils. Here, farmers have always let their crop grow, then they harvest it, and then that's it. They just let it sit what appears to be fallow for quite a period of time. There's been some explanations as to why this has happened, because the cover crops that they use in between growing are no longer in season by the time the late harvest happens. So you can even see that even farmers are stressed by climate change because they're forced to make decisions that affect carbon sequestration. So that cycle of getting carbon and nitrogen back into the soils is disrupted, even to them. Yet, out of all of these fields, it stymies me why nobody is attempting, at least even in a small section of their property, to ever grow with a permaculture design in mind. It boggles my mind. I don't understand why they don't just take a small little piece of it, untouched from pesticides, herbicides, flyovers, just a small section, and dump wood chips and then walk away. Organic matter, just fold organic matter back into the soil, right on the surface, let it rest. Let the fungal mycelium networks repair the soil. I don't understand why they don't do that. Well, they don't do that because they buy hook, line, and sinker into this type of paradigm where plowing is necessary, disturbing the earth. Tillage is the only thing that they've ever known, and therefore that's the way that it has to be done. But when you look at the total sum of this practice of doing that forever, you just are left with dead sand that has to be inoculated with nitrogen, potassium, NPK, nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. So, is that really what we humans have to deal with? Do we really have to grow food for the world? You know, it's not just for us, it's for everybody else. In other words, farmers are selling their crops for a profit somewhere else, to some other country probably. It's not necessarily directly going to us. It's okay, that's their decision, and I understand capitalism, you know. It's certainly up to the entrepreneur to decide where their product goes, and that's completely fine. Doesn't bother me one bit. What does bother me is that their practices in mass like this over vast swaths of landscape are destroying the earth. How much of this original ecosystem that was here has been displaced? All of the flora, fauna, gone. The soil, dead. The microbes in the soil, dead. Not even cared about. That must change. And in fact, the farmers who do farm like this are feeling the pinch now. They're finally trying to figure out why. Why do they have to sell off parcels of their land? Why do they have to increase crop prices? Why do they have to demand more water? Why are they getting less water for their crops? And then they'll lean on the government for help and assistance. See, I'm a conservative. I don't depend on the government at all for permaculture. It's something that I just simply do by myself. Drop organic matter, drop wood chips, lay it on the ground, and then leave it. I don't run to the government and ask for a handout. I don't run to the government and demand support for my practices. Nature does it. Nature has always done permaculture. So nature will work, and nature will be the one working for me. I just have to decide to solicit nature and then intervene in nature just a little bit, and then step back and then walk away. Let it continue. This process, massive agriculture, is a whole different paradigm. I'm not seeking to overturn massive agriculture and this type of paradigm. I'm offering farmers an escape hatchet, a mechanism for people to decide that they can choose something differently, even with a small section of their fields. They can simply decide to dump wood chips and start to put pomegranate trees in, something that's a little bit more drought tolerant, resistant to direct sunlight, will produce fruit consistently year after year, and start to restore the ecosystem, the habitat for some of the wildlife to return. Because I'll tell you right now, ain't nothing gonna return to this. There's nothing here, nothing incentivizing for any bug to come here. In fact, they'll probably just be bombarded with pesticides and die anyway, so it's pointless. I don't mean to beat farmers up. They don't know. They just are a part of a system that they've grown up in and understood their entire lives, that's just simply how the way that things are done. Well, it doesn't have to be this way. Permaculture is a tool. And this type of monocropping, where you are farming and harvesting one type of crop, is not natural at all. It's not natural. Humans are much smarter than this. Together we can create a meaningful change that is going to help restore ecosystems, bring back wildlife, bring back other types of vegetation that are incredibly important for our ecosystem, and at the same time produce food at no taxpayer cost And it could be done. Just have to adopt methods of natural farming. I encourage every single farmer here in America to read Masanobu Fukuoka, One Straw Revolution. And that is today's lesson, today's story, today's teaching, whatever you want to look at it as. I'm not an eco-activist. I'm simply a backyard gardener who has noticed an incredible imbalance in and around me, and have decided to speak out about it because right now, with the massive increase of huge wildfires here in Arizona year after year after year, we're losing this battle, folks. We're losing the battle of replenishing oxygen into the atmosphere and taking out carbon from the atmosphere. We need to restore the earth simply by growing plants. And if we grow enough plants together and give each other enough seeds, plants, and trees together and share, then perhaps one day, 30 years from now, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, we will have saved the planet and future generations by creating enough live carbon sequestration dumps to correct that imbalance that humans and industry have done to impact the globe over the millennia, to reverse all of that carbon, that nitrogen in the atmosphere that needs to go back in the soil for natural processes to occur. We could do it, folks, but we have to do it together. In other words, if you want to participate in healing the earth, just grow some plants, and I'll give them to you.